I was into it, man. I was like, that's cool.
Yo, so I want to jump into episode 2 really smooth. I want to talk about this episode. And listen, for everyone out there, we have not discussed what we're going to talk about. We just started shooting this shit, really. First off, we want to thank everyone for downloading, subscribing, liking. I mean, when I saw the numbers, I thought it was just going to be my friends. So I anticipated like 6 downloads.
It skyrocketed, man.
Yeah, we skyrocketed up, and we're really happy. There's a whole lot of moves to be made and moves that we're making, and we're just really excited about it. It's just there's so many things happening right now at Liquor Lab, big, small, little, influential. I mean, it's all over the place, but I want to kick it off, and I want to talk about a success story, really. Abraham does not know about this because I didn't tell, because it happened recently. So
I have no clue what we're going to talk about right now. I'm excited though.
Yeah, you should be. So there was a team member of mine, or someone that reported to me. Wow, she was probably, aside from our paid clients, she's one of the originals. Of course, I've mentored and supported people and my team members, people who directly reported to me, and just other colleagues, just with advice and things like that. She was someone who directly reported to me and she was taking over a business that I created, the process, procedures, the tools to check. I'm not going to mention what they are, but because then it will give it away and I don't want to put anyone on blast. But I created the whole process, and then I created the whole procedure and how to grab data and just verify requests for payment, so to speak. And I taught her over the course of 3 months. She had to take over the business because somebody had left in this role prior. And she was always, I guess, scared and tentative and always afraid to make a mistake. And, she was at this company for, I believe, about 25 to 30 years. She was at this company.
Wow, that's a long time.
It's a long time.
It's a lifetime.
Yeah. So fast forward, one of the best emails I sent her ever was when she answered something on her own after I'd been training her for a long time. And I responded to the email just to her, see me. And she came over all scared because, during the learning process, I am tough, and I'm tough in my own ways, Abraham.
I've been in her shoes, and I know exactly what the feeling is.
So I'm tough, and she comes over to the desk, all like, she comes over to my office, she comes over to my desk, and it's like, you told me to come in. I said, great fucking job. And she's like, what
awesome.
do you mean? I'm like, great fucking, you did it. You got the answer. You supplied it. You were thorough. You didn't leave anything to be questioned. And if they do have a question that's outside of the original ask, which everybody always needs, it was outside of the original, when you ask that additional question, it's outside of the original ask because you want to be thorough. Dates, even if they don't ask for it, you just want to go, ba, 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 ba. Get it all down. She did that, and I called her over, and that moment just built her confidence up so much, because the whole process that I preach is that or in general, that you have so much time to learn a process. You have so much time to ask as many questions as you can, but there comes a time where you need to turn it over into you're on your own. You're done with that learning period. That period could be 2 weeks. It could be 6 months. I know some people saying you won't pick up this business for 3-4 months. Which is the truth in some cases. So the fact that moment was really great for her. So fast forward, due to COVID, the business that we were in, they started laying off people, even the longtime employees there. And we have had conversations. We had these long conversations about, first of all, what she was making. She was making on or close, and this is going to blow everybody's mind.
And let me ask you a question real quick. Is she still at the original company?
I'm getting into that, man.
Okay.
So as COVID hit, they gave people part-time, they furloughed. Well, she was working part-time, just doing her usual work. So we started talking on a regular basis, sort of like you and I do, Abraham. We started talking on a regular basis, and I come to find out that over the course of these 20-something years, she has barely received any increase in pay.
Wow.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
25 years?
20 years. Barely received an increase in pay. So you know me, I was like, you have to value yourself. You've been at this company for over 25 years. Let's just call it 22 years because I know it's probably 25. I'm not 100%. I know it's over 20. Not sure it's over 25.
Man.
So we'll say 22 years and change. Been there 22 years. She barely had a pay increase. She's been loyal to this company through thick and thin, ups and downs. Ridiculous. Not even given a supervisor position. And I was just constantly telling her, value yourself. How could you value yourself if no one else is going to value you? How could you not? Here's the thing I'm trying to get at. How could you not value yourself? If you don't value yourself, no one's going to value you. If you don't say, I deserve X, Y, and Z. I've been here for 20 years. I deserve a bigger increase than 1.5%, which isn't even a standard cost of living now. Disclaimer, I'm not claiming that she got that, but think about it. 20 years and you're barely above the salary you started at.
And think about it, in 20 years, look at the inflation rate,
bro.
Right? That's insane.
Insane. So I kept telling her, you have to value yourself. No one is going to value you unless you put a value on yourself. You have been at this company 22 plus years. You need to communicate to people that you're worth more than what you're making. And when you go out into the world and look for a job, you have to put a value on that as well. You have to say, if someone says, oh, what type of salary are you looking for? And she would tell me, well, I go, no, I don't know anything. You're going to say that you want $75,000 a year. That's what you're going to say. You want $60,000 a year. You want at least 25 to 30,000 more than you're making. You need to value yourself because they didn't give you your fair market value. They didn't give it to you. So you have to go out and get it. And if someone's not willing to pay you that fair market value, trust me, you're going to find someone who will, because another company is going to come along and tell you that you were so goddamn loyal for 22 years. As I'm saying, I believe it's more. 22 years. I don't care if you don't have all the skills. People want that type of loyalty because I'll tell you, around 5-6 years ago, there was a paradigm shift in the way people hired. Okay, even probably longer than that. It went from, oh my God, Ryan, your resume, it jumps all over the place. You've been here, you've been there. And I'm telling you, that was the beginning. That was like 10 years ago. Now, 5-6 years ago, people are expected to jump and find the next big opportunity. But if you have someone with a resume who has been at the same company for 22 years, I go, that's going to speak volumes. So I told her, I said, value yourself, know your price, know what you value yourself at. Yes, you might have to take less, but if you start high, what's the worst they could say? No, they really want you. They're going to give you some. So moving in that direction, I would tell her, you have to, I swear to you, I'm not even kidding. There were conversations we had. She ended up crying. Wow. She'd be crying on the phone because I'd be telling her, yeah, tell me about it. I'd be telling her, you have the skill, believe in yourself, believe you are worth even more than what you're asking, and it will find you. But I'll tell you this, you are going to have to, when the time comes and you really are committed to leaving or you're committed to finding a job, you're going to have to make finding a job. You're not, if you want to find that right job, you're going to have to grind for that job. You're going to have to put in the work, do the interviews, have the interviews that you rock, and then they say, oh, well, we're only going to offer you what you were making at the other place. And you say, okay, thank you, but no thank you, and all that other stuff. So fast forward, getting back to your question.
Yeah.
Well, she was finally let go of her job. And you want to hear this? You want to hear the fucking icing on the cake here?
Okay.
Not only did she not get any significant pay increase in over 22 years.
She was also let go.
No. See, you're jumping here.
Okay.
No. Yeah, she was. I said she was let go. I mean, it's like give you the answer to the test here. No, she was let go without a penny of severance.
Oh my God.
22
That's heartbreaking.
years of service, right? And not a fucking penny of severance. Now,
that's ruthless.
I spoke to her. She was very upset because this woman is loyal. This woman tells me, I pray for you, Ryan. I'm praying. She's a woman. She's a woman of faith, And, I'm not a religious guy. I don't know if you are. We never talk about that stuff. You do what you do. I do what I do. We don't care. We love each other regardless. You could vote here. I could vote there. It's all love at the end of the day.
Man. Spread
exactly. Love. And that's the way it's supposed to be. I love you no matter what. And this woman is a woman of faith. And she'd be, Ryan, I'm praying for you. I'm praying. God's going to show me the way. God's going to show me the way. And sure enough, as soon as she got laid off and had this terrible news, listen, I don't know what would cause someone to be discouraged and kind of pause in their tracks and be like, what am I doing with my life? I just gave 20. I watched the people who are now the owners, the people who are now the owners of the company, and the people who were there 20 years ago have kind of stepped aside. They're still involved, but they're not like there every day,
Yeah.
They've watched these people grow up as babies. They've stood with them through ups and downs and ups. No severance, no raise, part-time. Get it? COVID, business affected. But when they started bringing people back, they started outsourcing. They let her go. But I'll tell you this woman dedicated her life. Dedicated 2-3 hours a day. She's like, Ryan, you told me that I was going to have to treat this like a job. And I know you're very hard on me. And I really took that advice and I did it. And you know what? She got a job already. She got a job. And not only did she get what, she also put out a number that was significantly more than what she was making because she valued herself. It took you don't just wake up in the morning and value yourself. You don't just open your eyes and say, hey, you know what? I was, pushed around for 22 years and, all of a sudden today is the day. No, it's a process. So it took this adverse thing where she really felt slighted, but she believed in the process and believed in a whole lot of other things too. And she put a value on herself. She started this past Monday, and they said to her, it came down to 2 people, okay? Out of 100 or 200, let's say 200 people, came down to 2 people. One had experience with the system and this person didn't. And they said, you know what? Your loyalty, no one could ever have.
Wow.
And I told her flat out 2 months before, when she was really upset, we would talk every now and then. Told her, I said, some employer is going to value your loyalty more than you could imagine. Not only did she get the job, but the owners or the boss or the leadership of the company said, this is going to be your next supervisor. Teach her everything you know. And once she's in that position, ready, she's going to get the money she asked for.
You gave me chills with that story.
It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. The thing that gives me chills is when I told her, I said to her flat out, I was in my car. I was stuck in traffic on the west side on Broadway in like the I believe is in I think it was in 130s. And I remember telling her, because I was in traffic, I said, somebody is gonna value you. Somebody is gonna value your loyalty, your skills, and your hard work. Just because these people don't does not mean you're not worth what I'm telling you you're worth. I'm telling you, these are what I talk when I talk about intangibles, right? I talk about the things that you just can't teach. When you're doing 22 years, you come out of that. There's one thing on your resume, dude. There's one thing on your resume. You're not the CEO of Wingstop. You're not like, you don't have some special top
at the Hilton.
Exactly. You're not with a top secret clearance for like military exercises, which Abraham has. But yeah, so this story was unbelievable. And the fact that it was just her accepting the reality of the situation, accepting that she was mistreated and not compensated by her former employer. She accepted the reality of these things. And then she, like I keep saying, put this value on her intangibles and her work skills. Now she's still nervous and stuff like she always is, but she will be fine. And it speaks to everything that this Liquor Lab program and empowerment and everything we do is to really just guide. You have it in you.
Ryan, we actually had this conversation last night, like about valuing yourself.
Yes,
We literally had that conversation last night, and it was that's
not even an accident. That's not even that's right. That's right. You have to value yourself, because if you're in a position where you don't have to take the first thing offered to you, or you're in a position where you just know, you feel it, that you're worth more, you cannot just jump to jump. You can't just jump because someone put something flashy in front of you.
Yeah. And
you just can't do that. Yes, valuing yourself is so important, and just, they call it first in, first out. Like, you can't just just because someone's first in, like all these inventory concepts. Just because someone's first in doesn't mean anything. They could be first in and last out. You know what I'm saying? So just really the whole Liquor Lab process, and this actually knowing that you have all the answers inside of you, and it's you accepting reality, knowing the process, putting a value on yourself, and being realistic. I mean, I could jump into another story. I had an interview this week, and it's kind of difficult when you interview or have a meeting. There's so many different variables that are like presented to you. Some conversations I have are good flows, kind of like this podcast. They're good flows. There's a good back and forth, even though Abraham lets me run on for a lot. It's always a good back and forth, and you're like, damn, I nailed it. But there's always that conversation where you leave yourself, and that's what happened to me. Is I left myself like, okay, but no conversation. If someone is going to judge you on one conversation and you don't make that effort to clarify, I actually showed you, Abraham, what I wrote.
I remember, yeah.
And not to go into huge details, but I took the opportunity because there was a question presented to me, and this is good for interviews and interviewing things. Is when you're in an interview and you get asked questions, if you've done some prep, you either have the answer in some sort of note form, or you just done it so many times. The one thing I'll stress is, even if it's part of the solution is something you do on a daily, and not just because you might see a spike here or there, or some like abnormal fluctuation in either conversion or an uptick in spend. Even though it's something you do on the regular, you need to voice that. And that's what happened to me. But in these situations, I took the opportunity in the follow-up to actually, I took the opportunity in the follow-up to go into the question that was asked, how I answered, and then what I left out and why I left it out. And it was just what I'm saying. It was something I am always abreast to. It's something that I'm always watching, and that's market conditions. And I'm always watching. I'm always getting feedback on the ground from the people doing, because the business that's in is that someone has to close it for me. It's not just a straight up conversion where someone does it online. I generate the leads and then someone closes for me. So I took the opportunity outside of the interview to follow up with a note saying, hey, you asked this question, and this is the way
that you would follow through.
Yeah, I just said, okay, yeah, I mentioned the vitals of the account because I'm always the economics and the undercurrents of the entire business are always something I'm watching. So I guess the point of that is, whenever you're in an interview and you feel that you haven't delivered a complete answer and you're like, oh man, I missed out on that, write it in the thank you note and know that
I've never thought about that actually.
It's pretty common when people want to just touch on something. I think I've been doing that lately because everyone's always limited for time. Oh, we have 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then these are Zoom calls too. So it's like,
yeah. And then if you don't know if you're going to be, you don't know if you're going to be audio only. The previous call was audio only. Then I'm on a Zoom with the video, and it's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
So it's just,
did you have your professional mic set up for the bass audio?
Did they comment? The dude commented on it. He was like, wow. Okay. I go, man, it's all about the sound quality. So yeah, that's, you know what, you make a good point there. You make a good point. Like, things like that ultimately start off the interview on a great note because you're just
It breaks the ice.
It does. It really breaks the ice.
It's like, oh, you have a audio. And then you can get off into a tangent, and everybody feels a little more welcomed and easygoing.
Yeah. So those are my two. I guess that's my two stories for the week right now. So definitely the users. I guess that this user story, user journey, friend journey, I consider this person a big friend. And then, this one, everybody always feels this way. I mean, I feel this way when I could tell you so many things about interviews. Like a headhunter tells me, or a recruiter, they're not called headhunters anymore. A recruiter tells me this job is for Facebook ads. It is only Facebook ads. Facebook ads 24 hours a day, bids, budgets, audiences, copy, video, content, whatever it is, Facebook ads 24 hours. Just picture Facebook ads flashing like no vacancy, but it says Facebook ads 24 hours, okay?
24/7.
Exactly. I get on the call. I'm talking to this guy. Yeah, I got a case study done. I got this done. I'm talking like, yeah, man, Facebook, I breathe it. I live it. You cut me open. There's like Facebook F's. There's Facebook F's like popping out of my skin, right? He goes, oh, all right. Well, what other advertising have you done? This position isn't only for Facebook.
Are you serious?
I'm like, what? And then he goes, well, we only have about I think it was 8 minutes left. And he said 5 minutes I want to leave for questions. So I'm like, oh, okay. So, but again, if you're not learning from these experiences, Abraham, see, the thing I do is now I do this. On the interview I had, not this last one where the guy asked me about the mic and stuff, and then I followed up, but I had one where it started off, hey, do you want to start off about your experience, or do you want me to tell you about the position? I go, listen, why don't you tell me about the position? And tells me about the position. And this is another great example of an icebreaker. Tells me about the position. I go, oh, thank God, because that's exactly what the supervisor, the other person, because I had three conferences. I go, oh, thank God. That's exactly what the other person said. I go, you don't know how many times I've been on a call. And it just breaks the ice because you just humanize everyone. We're not robots. Everybody understands. And she was like, believe me, I'm not surprised. I go, it's amazing how no one's on the same page these days. And it seems like you could talk a little more often, because usually you're like, oh, I didn't see them. They're not in the office.
Okay. That's a great story about the Facebook one. I really like that. So when you interviewed with that one position you were telling me about with the follow-up where it was kind of awkward, was it awkward because you guys couldn't get into the flow, or was it the interviewer? Because since I'm applying right now, or about to start applying to get into New York City, how do you kind of break the ice?
Is New York City like a fraternity, or what? To get into
New York City? It's an exclusive fraternity.
I don't know about that. Not anymore, but I know you want to be there real bad.
So all of these calls are on Zoom, and since I'm long distance, Ryan, I'm not going to have in-person interviews.
Doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore in-person interviews. As long as they see you on Zoom, everybody's remote. If you're working for, I guess if you get into a place where they're optioning you back, you have the option to come back, you might have to do it in person. And it depends on the position. I mean, right now, I believe like the Amazon process is all Zoom. They don't have you in person. So
the one that I did recently, we talked about it yesterday. You had to actually record yourself and then send it over. And then I was like going through the process, and I felt like I couldn't be the best me just because it feels so like.
Who did you record yourself and send it over?
That one company I was telling you about yesterday.
Oh, you had to
so they didn't even
questions.
Yeah, they didn't even like talk to me in person or on Zoom call. They just wanted me to answer this set list of questions, send it over, and it felt so like awkward. And I was like, I couldn't like present a real Abraham to this company.
Well, I think what you do is you try too hard. You try to be like you try to be like Goggins, whatever that fucking guy's name is. You try to be, I'm Mr. Pro podcaster. I'm just like, dude, this is just me and we're recording. You're like, so tell me about the chime.
It's tough though. It's tough though because you know that there's an audience listening, and you kind of want to like steer it and have that professional vibe. But like we talked,
dude, professional vibe. You haven't done 1,000 podcasts. You know what I'm saying? You gotta just chill, man. Yeah, just chill. Yeah, I've applied to jobs like that, and some of them I just skip over. I don't want I want to talk to people. I'm sorry, this is so old school to me, but there are a lot of jobs that I applied to that I'm just like, I ain't fucking doing all this shit.
Yeah. And then
I'm not like balancing the books for some fake company and then answering questions, then doing like the shuttle run, 50 push-ups, 50 pull-ups.
Yeah.
Like some of this stuff is, I'm senior enough. I'm not saying it cocky. Listen, if Nike called me or Apple called me and they wanted me to do like recorded stuff, of course I'm going to do that. But I just feel that sometimes I'm just not. Let's have a conversation. I guarantee when we talk and we're able to talk as people, you're going to like me. I'm going to do the job. The job's secondary to me because I could build relationships wherever I go and get the job done. I've been involved in so many things that are not even in my job description because I just get the job done. I get it done. And you know what I always say? If I'm not, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to learn to do it, or I'm going to find someone who's the best to do it. So these questions where they're like, hey, tell us why you want to work for the company. I mean,
how do you even answer that?
Dude. Sometimes you're like, I need a job.
No, they're like,
but some
tell
of the
us why
companies,
you chose to work at this company rather than anybody else. And I'm like, I don't know.
okay,
They
so
had an application.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the companies, though, you're going to have an answer for that. Some of them, you're not. I mean, do they want you to answer honestly? I don't know. Some of these things are psychological questions. Like they're ready to answer.
They're mind games.
Oh, I always people tell they say tell us something unique about yourself. And I'm like, I started to have fun with it. I say, when I was a little boy, I wanted to become a professional breakdancer, which is a true story.
This is a true fact. I know about this.
Fact. I want to become a professional breakdancer and a professional DJ and do clubs and make beats and stuff. And I'm telling you, I put that in, and then I always put the quote by James Brown that says most of the world's problems can be solved by dancing.
That's in your cover letter, man.
No, man, because at this point you just gotta have fun with it.
It's not that serious.
If they don't hire me or talk to me because I put that quote in, somebody's gonna like it. And it just goes to show, like, you value yourself. There's people who told me, and I when someone gives me good advice, I pass it along. So, if you want the job you're gonna get and the job you're gonna find, you're gonna have to work hard to find it. And somebody's gonna like everything, gonna like your entire pack. And another thing, you're only worth as much as you asked for.
Just like your friend.
Yeah, exactly. I could tell you a personal thing. I got an offer from another company. It was significantly, it was life-changing. I went to my company. I said, this is what they offered me. I'm going to leave in 2 weeks, or, what can we do? And they matched it, changed my life. It's tough with these new age like questions, and, there's a lot of people say there's no right answer, but
So when you got that other offer, were you actively like looking out for a different position, or did it just happen to fall in your lap?
They reached out to me. See, I say LinkedIn is compromised right now because back when this happened about 2 years ago, LinkedIn was still like people connecting, looking for. Now it's just oversaturated. And don't get me wrong, I've got calls for jobs. I've applied on there and I've gone far and done things. But it's not the same as it used to be where there were recruiters like really searching for you. And I was found by a recruiter, and I chose to stay at my job because I chose the intangibles such as relationships with ownership and things like that.
And loyalty, right? You've been working there for a long time.
That's important. At the end of the day, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, there was a lot of other factors too that happened that I'm not going to get into that led to my decision to not take this risk.
Those are personal.
They were very personal. I'm not going to get into those, but it was a shock, and I was like, it's not a good time to take this risk. And yes, go ahead.
Something you talked about earlier, and I've actually noticed the same thing. So you were talking about how like it's really old school for people to work 20 plus years at a company and call that home, and how today it's people like jump around to company to company to company, and better offer and better offer. At what point do you have to start valuing loyalty these days, right? When does that like culture shift?
I don't know, man. I think
because you didn't leave your old company, and there was a little bit of like like your relationship with management and a certain degree of loyalty.
Relationship with ownership. I mean, I had a great relationship with the ownership.
At what point does that loyalty kind of be like, you know what, this position is way too good not to say yes to?
Well, I think it's unique for everyone. I don't think I stayed just for loyalty. It was part of it, but I think honestly, my personal reason was more than anything because it was just a shock. But it's a whole package. There's intangibles. You have to start over. What if my dad had this situation? What if you get a brand new job, you left, you didn't have to leave, and you don't get along with someone, and that someone's been there for, and that person has the loyalty, and they say, you know what, Abraham, we love you, but this person just isn't seeing it the way you see it, and I think there's a conflict of interest here, and we're gonna have to, back this other person. Yeah. It's happened to my dad. He didn't get along with someone at a job that he left this job. He was unemployed for 6 or 7 years after that.
And then as like a professional, you definitely have to play that politics game consistently.
I don't know, man. No, you're absolutely wrong. You try to stay away from the politics. When you get in, you got to do everything you can to stay away from the politics. I've fallen into it.
Keep your head down and get into work.
I don't know if it's keep your head down. See, you always do this. You always jump.
It's either black or white for me.
Yeah, it's not about keeping your head down. It's always keeping your head up, actually, and seeing what's going on and trying your very best. Not when Joey 2 times comes over to you and you'll believe the job Barbara's doing over in accounting. I can't stand her.
And you just be like, you should just be like, oh, okay, and then just go on a different topic.
Well, yeah, you just got to steer clear of those comments, and that's what you got to do. You just got to steer yourself clear. Yeah. So getting back to this whole application about applying and all that, it's tough. If you're really motivated to get a job with a specific employer, I go through, talk to the computer, submit everything, do what you need to do. But there are some companies that the latest thing on Indeed that drives me crazy are these assessment tests.
Oh, they have those on LinkedIn too. The skills badge. They're like,
no.
Is it different?
It's 2 different things.
Okay.
The position on Indeed, they're more inclined to give you a required skills test.
Wow.
LinkedIn doesn't have it too much, but I was telling someone, I'm like, listen, the last time I did one of these, Joey and Susie are racing. Susie finishes before Joey. Ted and Al are racing. Susie finishes before Al. Ted beat Susie. It's like, who came in first? I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go touch on my GMAT prep days, and I'm just not ready for that right now. You know what I'm saying? So
it's like, is this really the right question to ask me for this?
I know it's critical thinking. I know it's critical thinking, but some of these, send me some other things other than these GMAT questions, because really the last time I saw them was on the GMAT. I get the critical thinking, but getting back, Indeed is really all over these assessment tests, and I'm just like, I'm having none of it, man. I'm like, oh God, if it's like for a great company. But I can't stress enough my whole opinion on applying these days and getting back and tying everything up. My whole opinion on this is go direct to the company. If you're going to apply for a job, go direct to the company, because I feel you're going to get noticed more. Your candidacy will be noticed more. I just don't like being in that pit of LinkedIn anymore. Like I said, tying it back to that offer I got. I was on LinkedIn. Someone reached out to me and we did the process. It took a little bit of time and I got an offer from it. But it was someone reaching out to me because I just wasn't in the market for a job.
And that was rather than you reaching out to these companies and being in that huge pool.
I was not in the market, Abraham. I was not in the market for a job. I was not going after a job like it was a job. Okay. Somebody reached out to me, a recruiter, it was from Korn Ferry. They're a very renowned, known recruiting firm. Okay. They reached out to me, did the process, took a little bit of time. There was a lot of travel. The owners were traveling, and long story short, I got an offer. But I wasn't looking at all. So if you're going to get out there and look, I would suggest you look on LinkedIn, but I'm not saying it should be your only place to go. The easiest thing on LinkedIn is if they accept your resume on LinkedIn, it's so easy. That's the thing about LinkedIn. If they say, oh, apply through LinkedIn, you're like, fuck yeah, this is going to be, I could bang out 25 applications in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you go direct to the employer's site, it's a little better, I believe. Yeah, so that's pretty much my advice there. To wrap everything up in this episode, and it's just been a fun talk, and we needed that because there's so much going on. Like I said, we keep saying it.
We have such a busy week today. We had
such a busy week.
It was hard for us to get on the podcast.
It was. I'm just like, fuck it, we're doing it. Let's go live. So yeah, to wrap everything up, interviewing, valuing yourself, and it doesn't happen overnight, but there are successes out there if you believe in the process. Now what Liquor Lab is all about. We're here for you have what you need inside of you. We're going to bring it out. Yeah, and then just the interview process, if you finish the interview and you don't feel you've touched on everything you should have, always utilize that follow-up email. There's so many ways to present it, and save your thank you, save your follow-up, so then you could create a new follow-up and a new thing, so you're not saying the same thing all the time, but always make sure that you get your point in that follow-up email. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's fine. At least you say, okay, I didn't mention this because to me, it's not part of that because I know the other stuff. And then just applying in general is great questions, Abraham. I mean, I love it. Man, this is a great podcast. I hope everyone feels the same way.
That was a fun podcast.
If you do like the podcast, like it, subscribe it, rate it. We're really working hard to get you some valuable content that you guys can relate to and hear. And do feel free to contact us at info@liquorlab.com if you want to hear any topic or want us to discuss anything that you've experienced, or you just have feedback for us. Again, just anything, drop us a line. If you're interested in career coaching and consulting, you could go to liquorlab.com and click on the career consulting tab. And if you have anything else, drop us a line, hit us up on any of the socials. We're ready, willing, and able. Again, we're blown away by the response we've got. We love it. We're excited about it. And we're doing our very best to get you some compelling content and stuff that you could just listen to without having to be like, oh man, what the fuck are these guys talking about?
Yeah. And then everybody, if you guys want to DM us, we're on Instagram and Twitter. Just send us a quick question, and I know that we're definitely going to reach back out.
Details to come. I will be a guest speaker at what university?
University of New Mexico, and we're setting up things for other universities in the country.
Yep, but we're almost 100% confirmed at the University of New Mexico. I can't wait. I can't wait for it. It's going to be great. We're very excited, and we'll speak to you next week. Thanks, Abraham.
Thanks, Ryan.